Welcome to Health Vision. I'm Jackie Wolf, Associate Professor of Social Medicine at Ohio University. Every 10 minutes, another candidate is added to the National Organ Transplant waiting list. On average, 18 people die each day because a needed organ was unavailable. With us to discuss organ donation is Public Relations Specialist Heather Blausey from Lifeline of Ohio, a not-for-profit organization that promotes organ and tissue donation. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you for having me.
Explain to our viewers what organ and tissue donation is, and differentiate between organs and tissues.
Organ and tissue donation is life-saving and life-enhancing. Organ donation means the donation of vital organs like the heart, liver, lungs, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestine.
And those are the only organs that actually can be donated and used?
Yes. So things like your brain and other organs, your spleen, those aren't donated, but at the time of death, those major organs that I mentioned can save up to 8 lives, which is really remarkable. Tissue donation can enhance 50 or more lives, and that's the donation of bone, heart valves, ligaments, veins, skin,
corneas.
The corneas of the eyes, absolutely. So those things are life-enhancing and healing for the patients that receive those transplants.
How does someone become an organ and tissue donor?
In Ohio, it's really very easy to sign up as an organ and tissue donor. You do that at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. When you receive or renew your driver's license, you'll be asked, would you like to be an organ and tissue donor?
I think most Ohioans know that, because when you go to renew your license, you're always asked that question.
And by saying yes, your name is added to the Ohio Donor Registry, which is sort of a new thing. In the last 5 years, the state of Ohio established the donor registry, which is a first-person consent registry. It's your advance directive to be an organ and tissue donor at the time of your death. So by saying yes, you're giving your legal consent right then and there that if donation is a possibility, your wish will be carried out.
Now, how do you do it if you don't do it through your driver's license? How do you get on the Ohio donor list?
Well, you can do it online through our website, lifelineofohio.org.
One word, Lifeline of Ohio.
Yes, or you can pick up an enrollment form, and those are available at various places around town. You can always call our office too. In Columbus, we have an 800 number, and we're happy to mail you a registration form. And that's how you sign up on the Ohio Donor Registry.
Now, there is a real, very critical shortage of organ donors in this country, isn't there?
Absolutely. Today there's over 97,000 people waiting for a second chance at life. And their only hope for a future is the donation of an organ for a transplant.
And how many organ transplants are there a year? Not nearly 97,000.
No, there's a huge gap. There's about 29,000 organ transplants every year, and that number increases very little every year, but we know that 9 out of 10 Americans believe organ donation is the right thing to do. So getting people to sign up is really our main goal. We want to educate everyone and share the facts about donation like we're doing today, and encourage everyone to consider donation, to sign up, and to make their wishes known both at the time at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles with the Ohio Donor Registry, and then also with their family by having that conversation.
Now, it's interesting that you say that 9 out of 10 Americans will say, if asked, that organ donation is the right thing to do. But there's a huge gap between people's beliefs and their actions in actually committing themselves to be organ donors.
That's absolutely correct. There's only about 50% of Ohio's registered drivers signed up on the Ohio Donor Registry. So we know about 90% or more people really believe, like you're saying, that donation is the right thing to do. But how do we get to close that gap? How do we get people to act on what they believe?
And it's funny, I understand, I mean, having gone through this myself, when I went to get my driver's license, moving to Ohio, and then I was asked if I want to be an organ donor, it is a disconcerting question, because of course, the minute you're asked that question, no matter how much you believe in organ donation, you are thinking about yourself dying.
Right.
You also, there are all kinds of myths as well associated with organ donation that you worry about. You worry about, oh, does this mean that if I am dying, they might not work as hard to save my life since I am an organ donor?
And we see that myth carried out on TV, on popular TV shows all the time, when in fact that's not the truth at all. You know, TV is for entertainment purposes, so shows like ER and House and Numbers, that's not really how the organ donation process works. Ohio has established an online way to sign up, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago. So if you haven't thought about donation, when you get to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, you need some time to consider it a little more, to do your research, to find out the facts. You can always go online at a later time, and with your driver's license number, register yourself as a donor that way as well.
If you sign up to be an organ donor and your family is then consulted, if you have died, and then your family is consulted and your family then doesn't want you to be an organ donor, how is that resolved? Is it finally up to the family whether or not your organs are donated, or is it up to your written wishes?
Well, it is your written wish as a legal advance directive to be a donor. So we work with families in those instances and situations to really work through the issues that they might be having around donation. Maybe they've heard some of those myths, like you've mentioned, the one about not saving the person's life, or perhaps they're worried that you won't be able to have an open casket funeral, or that your religion is against donation, and those things are not true at all. So we really work with the family to support them in the decision and to support them in understanding what your decision was and helping to carry out your last wish. And we know that donor families feel so much pride and such a sense of relief in carrying out that last wish. It gives them hope in the grieving process.
So you would be, you would urge people to talk to their family members then?
Absolutely. If you're sitting at home watching this show today and you think that donation is a good thing and you've registered your wish, tell your family. It's really important. It's one less decision that they will have to even think about at a time when so many decisions are being made.
Yeah, so families really understand well in
Right.
advance what your wishes might be, because it's very hard to make decisions like that when you're grieving over
And oftentimes organ donors happen in tragic situations. It might be a car accident or a drowning, something where you were having breakfast with your loved one that morning, but you're sitting in the hospital emergency room that evening facing what you could have never thought might have happened to you. And,
Sure.
and so it's very important to talk about it in advance before you get to that kind of tragedy.
Often very sudden, unplanned deaths.
Yes.
Let's talk about some of the myths of organ donation.
Sure.
We referred to one of them before, that someone might not work as hard to save your life if they know you're an organ donor. But of course, the doctors who are working to save your life know nothing about who's an organ donor and who isn't. They're
Right.
not involved in transplants
It's not
at
like
all.
they're checking your ID at the emergency room doors, or it's not like those doctors are even involved in the transplant and donation process. Those are completely separate items. So that's not the truth at all. Certainly the doctors at the hospital, their first and foremost concern is saving your life, and only after every opportunity to save your life has been exhausted, that's when looking at saving someone else's life is an option.
And organ donation isn't even discussed or considered until someone is dead, until they're brain dead, most likely.
Absolutely. Until that person has been declared brain dead, organ donation should not enter the conversation at a hospital at all.
Now, some of the other myths too, people worry about how it might mutilate their bodies and they might not be able to have an open casket. What do you say to them?
The recovery surgery to retrieve the organs and tissues is a very just general surgical procedure. We treat all donors with the utmost respect and care. I've witnessed those recoveries myself, and I can truly say that the surgeon treats that patient just like any other patient. So the body is restored to its natural appearance prior to the surgery, and you can absolutely have an open casket funeral. It does not affect your funeral plans at all.
What about people who worry that it might be against their religion?
I would encourage you to talk to your religious leader, because all major religions support organ and tissue donation. We have a weekend in the fall, it's called National Donor Sabbath, when thousands of churches and synagogues and religious organizations support donation, and they preach that to their membership. They pass out materials and bulletin inserts, and they have speakers and do displays and have quilts and all sorts of things to show their support for donation, to let their membership know that all religions do support it.
Am I missing any other vital, I mean, people really, people...
Well, I think people believe that famous people, the rich and famous, get organs quicker than, just someone like me, myself, but that's absolutely not true as well. It's illegal to buy an organ in the U.S., so we hear about people like Alonzo Mourning, the NBA star, getting an organ faster than, say, someone else, because he is a household name every day. And so when something like that happens to him, of course we hear about it in the news.